Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. It ain't your boy, it's your man, the blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media, signing black and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I want to first off say to one subscriber, thank you and F you. Not subscriber, but someone, an audience member, a commentator. I forgot the name already of that commentator, but this this commentator, and I've already forgotten the name, even the initials. But this commentator said, "It turns out all Cathey was a scammer. F y'all." And by y'all, I guess this person means African Americans. Thank you for letting me know that I needed to research this. And the only research I've really found has been YouTube. I don't have official documents of any sort, any receipts, but I have heard of the people's complaints, and it's been through YouTube, and it's actually been under an hour because I finished my duty this morning. It's still morning time here, and then I looked and I saw that within the past week, people have said, "Well, what's happening?" People have invested, and they've said, "What the F is up with our money?" And they say that for the past maybe month or 2 months, she's been uploading old videos and not giving any clues as to where the F she is right father mucking now. Now, I said that if I'm going to talk about scammers in the Gambia or anywhere, I'm going to talk about the scammers, and I'm not going to go in on innocent people that had nothing to do with the scammers. Because, as we know, they tend to be victims as well. They get victimized. Is that their fault? Absolutely not, but it happens to them. So I am trying to be fair in this regard like I was last time. I knew what I knew back then. I wanted to be fair. Should she have spoken about it better? Yes. By the same token, additionally, should she have talked as though it never happens and everything is hunky-dory and there's nothing to watch out for when you migrate? No, she should not have. She should have talked about exactly what she saw and been fair to the innocent people as well and made that part very clear, because the majority ain't scamming. She said something about, but see, I saw other videos, and in one of them she said something about GLS, I think, Gambian leech syndrome, and seemed like she wasn't talking anything about a leech. And by the same token, she wasn't talking about everybody there. But now I realize from more videos that she does not give enough credit to innocent regular people who just don't have anything better to look forward to, and they do the best they can with what they have. She's right. It's third world. I get that. And she hates poverty. I get that. Men hate poverty, so I know women are going to hate poverty. I don't blame her for hating poverty. I went through that stage years ago. I was a youngster, and it damn near drove me mad. Like, why the F everywhere we go around the world, not even just in the motherland, the wealth is always tied and related to whiteness. What the F, what gives? I said that. And you know what? I'll be honest. I wouldn't care right now if black folk went just on raids, like if we just as a race just robbed everybody else at gunpoint. Now you're gonna give it up to us, except of course for the Southeast Asians, because they didn't do that to anybody, and the Native Americans did not do this to anybody. But if pretty much anybody else could catch it, I wouldn't fib a guck. Anywhere in the world you ain't black and you live in lands that are not you live outside of Europe, yeah, you can get robbed. And as far as Europe goes, they could get it too, because they went abroad and robbed everybody else. I really wouldn't care. Impoverish them, enslave them, and when they rebel, you execute them in front of other people. Because there's still certain things we would not do systematically, like rape their men in front of the women and children and make them watch. They still would come out better than what we've come out in the end. I wouldn't care, because I realize how morally egregious and wrong it is that they got the money and everybody else has some more money than we do based on their bad attitudes towards us, and we got the least. I get that. So I understand the motive, but let me explain this. Now that I understand what I understand, now that I know what I know, it is not okay when people start asking to see some results or some receipts of their investments that you vanish and that you don't really show exactly where you are now and what you're doing, and you don't answer the questions. That's not okay. If you ain't running off with the money, don't look like you're running off with the money. That is a very serious lesson for everybody to learn. If you ain't guilty, don't try to look guilty unless that serves a tactic. That's important. See, when it comes to me, I can't get away with stuff like that. And you notice it's one reason why it is that I don't monetize this. I don't ask you for your money, and I don't offer you money. Then you have to worry about whether I even believe what I'm saying. Now, um, maybe I should monetize it just for those who just have extra to donate. Maybe I should do that. There's some things for which I would probably need the money. But right now, you can sit up and say, well, even if Black makes a mistake, it's an honest mistake. He's not pandering to someone that pays and pulls the purse strings. That's that's something you can rest on now. If I make a mistake, it's an honest one. I didn't know that she was even going to be suspected of being a scammer. I wasn't aware of her taking investments from people because I didn't watch enough of those videos. I simply got involved in one thing, and that is that she has the right to talk about a phenomena, and that's something that's on her side, and to her detriment, she's got to work on separating the riffraff from regular run-of-the-mill people who likewise would be victims of these scammers, and that's to her detriment. That's why I disagreed. That's what I was getting at last time. See, when we as African Americans go somewhere, we're not going to know the layout of the land. But we also don't blame victims. So when people pay bribes because they have to pay the bribes, you don't blame them because they have to do it. You only blame them if they say, well, the bribes are okay. No, you've been desensitized to them, but it's not okay that you have to pay them. And if the civil servants are paid so poorly that they have to take bribes, that's not okay either. It's just maybe they're doing it out of necessity. So you can admit that something is a necessary evil at a time without admitting that it is right, because it's not. And that again is part of the balanced road that you take. And I thank God that I've got a father. And I thank God I still got him. Even if he cut me off tomorrow and said, don't talk to me no more, son, I thank God for what I did learn. Because I can tell you straight, that middle ground is hard. You get used to walking it after a while. And nobody becomes perfect at it, but you get used to finding where that is. But it is difficult, especially in the beginning. And most of us have not learned that. So to the commentator that told me, turns out she's a scammer, F y'all, F you too, and thank you for the information. To be fair, you did inform me and I looked into it. Okay, there's a reason people are saying it. I didn't think you would even make it up. But what's the conclusion you got to jump to? F you, F y'all. Who is y'all? I mean, which you think I want to see African Americans and Gambians involved in grudges? Absolutely not. My mother's ancestors come from that region, Senegal, Gambia, and Mali. That's where Creoles come out of. They want to ask you where they come from. That's it right there. So yes, I'm pretty ticked off that there might even be one. See, I didn't want there to be a grudge between African American Muslims and Somalis. Said Ragia had a loose tongue. Stupid behind. And he's not even hateful, but dumbass nigga. Well, he got it. And then apparently he apologized. I think he seems to have really meant it. So now I can't say today he a dumbass nigga. I could say he was at that time he said it, and he tried to fix it. You can't fix it that easily, because you're not. One thing that is very egregious that every Muslim knows is you do not side with the oppressor against the oppressed. And even if he didn't mean to do it, he still did not handle that very well. And he gave that khutbah in Kenya. He didn't give it in the US. And then on the flip side, some African Americans said, yeah, I saw the footage, man. They was laughing at us. No, they weren't laughing about it. They were looking at him, because that's what you do in the Friday khutbah. You look and you listen. If they don't actually crack a joke, you don't bust out laughing. You pay attention. You fuck the shuck up and let the Cathey, meaning the imam, talk and give his khutbah. Then you say you perform the 2 cycles of the prayer, and then the Friday prayer is done. That's the formula for it. That's the protocol. It's been that way for over 1400 years. Look it up. But see, everybody exaggerates. He exaggerated, we exaggerated. So a lot of times we get into these silly ass grudges, pardon my French, because because what happens to all of us is traumatic. Whether it was colonization on the continent, enslavement in North America and South America, and in the Caribbean, or colonization and enslavement that we experience in other parts of the Americas, whichever the case was, we all went through trauma. Papua New Guinea, Melanesia, they went through trauma. A lot of Papua New Guineans were what they call blackbirded. They were hunted and then shipped down further south into Australia and enslaved there because the original black Australians were adept at sneaking away and blending into the surrounding fauna. I'm sorry, flora. So much so they were categorized as flora and fauna and not a part of the human population for a long time. So these crack-ass Australians went up north into Papua New Guinea because it wasn't too long of a boat ride, and just grabbed Papua New Guineans and took them south into Australia and enslaved them there. We don't escape trauma. If you were dark-skinned right now, you're going to go through some sort of trauma for it. It's just a question of how much. And it's been that way for centuries. Look that up. But since we've all been through this, we have this really good habit, and that's sarcasm, of taking this trauma out on each other. And I don't understand why we're doing it, but we're taking it out on each other. So you got Gambians and African Americans going at each other's throats. Well, who the fuck is going to go after the white man like we supposed to do? Pardon my French again. See, I'm not here to stir up a grudge. I was here to talk about a balance the last time I addressed Art Cathey. And I even pretty much said, you go in on scammers wherever the hell you find them. In the States, Baltimore, or New Orleans. I used to love to visit New Orleans when I was a kid. They got scammers there all throughout the French Quarter. And I got sick of it because, yeah, most of them was us. It got us looking bad. And I got sick of it. Beggars, too. When I was an adult in Atlanta, a lot of times I go to the masjid on 14th Street. Muslims who live there know what I'm talking about. I'm sure Dwight Hayes knows about it. It's a big masjid now. There was a time it was small and about the size of a house, but ever since I've been going there, it's been people begging, and it's pretty much only been one man from India, and the rest is us. Oh, and there's been one man, and I don't even know which country he comes from, but his first language is Arabic. He used to beg at times too, but he would also try to teach Quran in exchange for some money. So he would offer to teach you in exchange, and then if not, then he would just resort to begging. But then, other than that, it's been usins out there begging with hard luck stories. And I'm like, I mean, there have been times I have snuck into the masjid so they don't stop me, because for whatever reason, when a beggar's one of us, all of a sudden they can recognize me as one of us, and then they start hitting me up. They'll jump over other people to come to me. I don't know what that's about, Muslim or not. And so we have a right to talk about that. I got a right to talk about that. And I had to tell some of them, if you're going to be a nuisance begging, why don't you go to a church and beg them? Astaghfirullah, Key, you want me to take money from the kuffar? They would say that. Yes, that's exactly what the hell I want you to do. And if you're going to rob somebody, make sure you're going to rob them too. Yeah, be a nuisance to them and then give us your best instead of the opposite. Because doggone well, if you met a Christian from a church, you would try to impress them with your Islam. You meet a Muslim, you like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and be a burden to this other Muslim because he's supposed to do X, Y, and Z. He ain't got to do that. I mean, it's not like we're not discriminated against in the job market anyway, regardless of race. We are, Muslim or not. So no, miss me with that foolishness. I'm sick of this, man. And now we got this grudge going on or about to start up. I don't want that. I hope I'm overreacting too soon. I really do, because I don't want to see Africans and African Americans involved in an argument we're never going to get out of. We're not going to get out of it. And when she says something about don't come to me, when R. Cathey said a while back, don't even come at me if you done left the continent and put blonde weaves on your head and you wearing skin bleach, she was 100% correct. Don't come after her if you've done that. Fut the shuck up. Say nothing to her. Because you done discredited yourself if that's what you did. Not necessarily moving away, but if you move anywhere or if you stay there and you put on skin bleach and blonde wig, close your damn mouth. You ain't got nothing to say to her, especially if it wasn't your money she was taking. I was trying to be fair, and I still am. There was somebody else that got on my channel and said, got on that video underneath it and said, I thought this was going to be about Africans. What's the Arab stuff in the beginning? See, here we go with that. So we just going to blindly accept a very pro-white narrative that the Arabs have done X, Y, and Z, and therefore they've proven that this religion can't be true, and they came and conquered Africa and forced Islam down the throats of black Africans. That's not what happened. I've checked the history already. Rudolph Bilal Ware is another person that he's an expert on this. An imam out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I believe his name is Naeem Abdullah. He's done research on this, and he learned from Rudolph Bilal Ware about that. Abdullah Hakim Quick even found out about some lies that were told. Lies that were told to this day on some tours in Tanzania, because the tour guides don't know that these are lies. Or this was a warehouse where the Arabs kept the Africans in chains to sell them. It turned out to be a munition storehouse during the British colonial period, and that's what it was. And there was nothing there beforehand. And I'm sick of hearing this crazy business. I'm tired of this. And they're going to ask me, what's this Arab stuff in the beginning? I'm a Muslim. I'm going to greet the Muslims, just like I greeted everybody else. I said peace to everybody else. That's what I'm doing. My first language is English. I'm going to be talking in English. I didn't hear you asking me about that because you knew what my answer was going to be. Well, in our religion, we got a greeting, and it hasn't changed. I mean, you can translate it, but it has not habitually been translated into other languages. Hell, if I've walked up to somebody who speaks Bahasa and I said, peace to you in Bahasa, I said the translation of it in Bahasa, they may not know what I'm talking about. They may have to think 3 times and repeat what I said to understand what I'm even saying. You don't hear people in English a lot of times say peace to you. Some of you wouldn't even know which piece I was talking about. A piece of what? Pepperoni pizza? So you don't get to come up and tell me stuff like that. So if you want to defend Gambians, stop taking me as an enemy because I'm actually on the same side as you. I'll defend anybody that's innocent for something that they didn't actually do. I'll defend our Cathey. She's blamed for something she didn't do, but right now they're saying she done disappeared with their money, which would make her a scam artist. And I don't have any evidence that she has not done so. So I'm not going to say nothing. Now, when it comes to Ice Cube, he's been called a sellout. We got evidence right there in front of us, literally in black and white, in the contract with Black America, with which he formed after consulting with Claude Anderson, Boyce Watkins, and some other people. And he simply presented it to both parties. And the Dems gave an even worse response than the Republicans, and so now everybody's sitting up saying he's a sellout and photoshopping pictures of him with a MAGA hat on and Trump campaign hats, photoshopping these hats onto him and 50 Cent's heads, and we sitting up here just blindly running with it. Yeah, man, Cuba sellout. No, he's not. So if you think I don't defend people who are innocent, no, nigga. And matter of fact, you know what, Black America, F you very much. Not for the reason that the commentator said under my video about our Cathey, but for actual reasons for which I should be saying F you very much. We are audibly, emotionally, linguistically illiterate. We see a headline and run with it and believe it, especially if it's bad news. We don't open articles. We don't check the sources. We don't do any of that stuff. And when we don't do it, we don't admit what we haven't done. We don't say, well, I saw this article. I got halfway through it and I got interrupted. So I don't know what the second half says. And I don't know the reputation of that particular newspaper either. I'm not sure. So this is what I do know and this is what I don't know. We don't even do that. Oh, we're historically illiterate too. That's why some of us are sitting up saying we have no ties, no relationship to Africa. And then going to turn around in the same breath and say that we're Moors and ancient Kemetics. Oh, so you just don't want to claim, jet black West and Central Africa. Why don't you just go ahead and say it? Just come on and say it. We everything but. We're ancient Comitics, we're ancient Moors, but they were North Africans and black too. And we're Native Americans, but we ain't got nothing to do with, black West and Central Africa with the big noses and the wide lips and the big feet and them names that sound like something out of a Tarzan movie like Makumbana Yabange, which we should be proud of. Nope, none of that. That's what happens when we are historically and linguistically and emotionally and even politically illiterate. And that makes the middle ground even harder to find. Forget walking on it. You can't find it because you're so illiterate, you don't know where the two sides of the highway are. You can't walk in the middle of the sidewalk because you don't know where the edge is at and where the grass starts because you're illiterate. We got to work on that. I blame Cathey for what she's actually done. And at this point, I'm not going to defend her for running off with their money, because if she didn't, disappearing when people owe you money is bad enough. I mean, disappearing when you owe people money is bad enough. You're going to disappear when you owe people some money. Man, what the F for? And maybe she'll come out and she'll say, this is where I've been. And I told my investors, some of them I couldn't find to tell them where I was, but I wasn't trying to flee with the money. She may come out and say that, in which case I'd say, all right, okay, matter closed. Nothing more to say about it. Or she doesn't. Until then, I'm going to say, you need to tell them where you're at. And at least give them some updates. I know no investment's guaranteed to have a return, but at least give them some updates. At the very least that. And that's why if I was doing something in the Gambia, I would be asking for investments from people in the Gambia so that they would see that there's some transparency. And I wouldn't ask for much in the first place, because I would tell them, look, I don't have experience doing this before, so there's a chance of failure. I'm asking you actually to invest what you can afford to lose, but what would make a return worth it if you actually got it. And I'm asking you because you're here so you can track the progress. That's what I'm trying to do. And I can't buy tickets unless I'm buying tickets for one of you. And the truth be told, I would get investors involved in it. I would say, okay, listen, I'm going to need a representative to meet with somebody next door in Senegal. I'd rather not go because, other investors are here. Is there any one of you that would rather, that would like to go next door and do this representation? Because I'd rather not leave the country while you're here and you've made an investment that I'm trying to make work. But then again, you see, that's that middle ground. And while we can find it, we just generally don't like to do it. Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah bin Bobby. What's happening, NC worker? Anthony Taylor, good morning. Where I am, it's morning. So I wanted to get this, I wanted to clear this up. I wanted to get this out there for the people, especially the ones that got some stuff to say, because I appreciate getting new information and updates. But on the other hand, see, the way that you can tell someone like me or anybody else some information we just did not know in the first place is, well, this is a link to some new information that's popped up. We're sure that there's going to be more to come later. Right now, it's looking bad. And that's enough for me. I would say, oh, okay, thanks. Thanks for letting me know. And there's somebody that said, well, here's the information. I think I've gotten 3 responses to that I was talking about in here. But for somebody even to write in, F y'all, yeah, I know it's YouTube, but see, social media is not supposed to get you desensitized to disrespecting people. And that's unfortunately exactly what it does. How often do we end up in dumb nigger arguments that we don't have to? Because of what? We don't even fully read what somebody wrote, and we don't even fully listen to the video, and don't have the decency to fuck the shuck up if we're not going to fully read what they wrote, or fuck the shuck up if we don't hear the whole video. Don't even have that kind of decency. Instead, we got to get like 5 minutes into it and start typing comments and getting sarcastic. And I've cussed out feminists for doing this. I have cussed out some black women for doing this. Black queens, mothers of the earth, cussed them the fout for doing stuff like that. And I'm going to do it again. Now, y'all keep this up in this context, and I'm going to start doing the same thing. And if you don't, then I won't. You can say, look, I disagree. I think she's a scam artist. Fair enough. You got evidence to back it up. I'm going to give you a head nod because I understand why you said it, even if I'm not going to jump to the conclusion. And I wouldn't jump to the same conclusion if it was somebody from the Gambia. So I'm not playing favorites. That's not it at all. I do not respect scam artists except and unless they are scamming the oppressors. In that case, I'm kind of neutral about them. But when you When you scam other oppressed people, you black and you scam black folks, I don't care if you a Gambian, scamming Gambians and African Americans and black Britishers that go there, or if you an African American and you scamming anybody else that's black of any nationality, I'd lose respect for you. You're not supposed to be doing that. Fit the guck out of my face with that short bit. But by the same token, I mean that both of them, all they pretty much mean is I'm not playing favorites. So the reason I'm not jumping out and saying, yeah, she a scam artist right now ain't because she's African American and I'm African American. That ain't why. That's not the reason at all. And it's not because she put out videos telling African American women to get their stuff together either. Not just playing favorites because of that. I'm doing it because there may be some time. I mean, this is the first I've heard of her being a scam artist. So there may be some time when she comes out with an update and says, okay, I came back to find out this, that, and the other. But see, we get arguments for nothing. And in this case, some people chose to argue with someone that wasn't even against them. And I'm talking about myself. Black folk, we're going to have to do better. And we're going to have to start taking a more scholarly approach. And I know a lot of us, we hate intellect and research and the rules of research and the rules of conclusions and things like that. But we're going to have to start taking that. And we're going to have to take the same approach that judges and courts of law take before we jump to negative criminal conclusions about people. Okay, if it is true, where's the evidence? Prove it before you ask me to say the same thing to a crowd of people. You might be right, you might not. But what evidence can I stand on before I say this to a crowd of our people about one of our own? We don't take that. So that being said, I got to get back to work. Thank you all for tuning in at this late hour where you all are. Black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum.